Hey guys, it's Miss Charlotte and welcome back to another video on this channel. Today I'm here with part 2 of my London townhouse speed build project. There we go, it's a bit of a mouthful, but this is the current build project that I am working on in The Sims 4 on this channel, and essentially a build project is basically a variety of videos working on the same build, just kind of doing the exterior and the interior, but taking more time to do it so it turns out nice, hopefully. So we are back with this London townhouse. Today we are working predominantly on the interior, but at first I did do a bit to the exterior, so just some minor bits and bobs really, like putting some bins in and some stairs coming out of the front balconies, and then straight away I moved on to the inside of the build. So what I wanted to do at first, which I mentioned in the previous video, was I wasn't really sure about elevators. So there's a slight issue with The Sims 4 where you can actually use a weird hack to make multiple elevators, but in terms of saving it as a house, it doesn't really work. You have to only have one elevator, which aesthetically doesn't look amazing in this build, and it would mean that some of the floors would have to have stairs. So I decided that instead of having elevators, I'd completely scrap the idea and just do a set of marble stairs going up. So that is kind of what I'm doing here now. The one thing I was faffing with a lot was the shape, because the way Sims 4 stairs work is it can be quite tricky. The kind of dimensions of the corridor I had built, you can't get stairs to fit perfectly all the way around the walls. So I kind of like built in these little sections and pillars, which are just going to be like dead space inside. I think I'm going to leave it and not kind of change the apartments on either side to open up more. Actually, I don't know, we shall see. Like I said previously in the other video, the first part for this, I probably will jump back and forth kind of like changing things in this London townhouse as I carry on building, but that's kind of what I went for the stairs. They kind of wrap up, they're not identical in every level just because of the way stairs in The Sims work when you try and stack them, but they have a nice shape. I quite like them. And as you saw just a little bit ago, I was experimenting with different colors and different types of blue wallpaper. So I wanted to go for the blue because I like the whole pastel look of this build so far, like lots of whites and light blues with the front door and just the whole exterior of the build. So I kind of wanted to carry that through to the main halls that will be in between all of the kind of apartment houses, because I don't know, I feel like the internal main bit of the building should match the external a little bit. That's just kind of how I wanted to do it. And then the apartments themselves can be like kind of really variable. Like they could even have completely different styles, to be honest, because people buy houses and renovate them themselves in terms of the furnishing, so they are probably going to be very different to each other, with some things that are quite uniform, but with little variations that are personal to the people living there. But yeah, so just kind of like looking into things that I can add on each level, like little plants and just very similar lighting situations. I end up going into live mode and changing the light as well to make it all like very white light, just because I'm a type of person who doesn't like warm light. I feel like it makes my builds look weird, and I don't know, it kind of like alters the color of some of like the wallpaper and stuff if it has like really warm light. So I went and changed that, but then I was deciding on like some massive doors. I did want kind of front door looking doors for all of the houses, so that's why I went for these giant ones. They have windows in them. Ideally I'd have like that kind of doorway, but with no windows, kind of. It was really hard to find that, so I just went with these. Next, I also found these little mailboxes that are from City Living. I think you have to find them in debug, can't really remember, but they're something that you can put in your build. Don't know how functional they are, because every time I went out and came back in with a sim, it respawned a whole new mailbox, so I don't think they count as mailboxes, but maybe they can be used. Probably not the ones I like alt placed by raising them up on the wall, but for aesthetics it's kind of what you'd get in a townhouse where maybe you have all the mail in the same place, which I thought was nice. But yeah, just working on the the ground floor initially. So I wanted a little entrance area with a little kind of cabinet and a mirror, and then I was gonna have some like layered letters, but oh my goodness, the issue of trying to raise up little debug objects and making sure they actually fit, like they don't float above, was a struggle. So I went for like a nice little sign-in reception book almost, which I don't know if you'd have, maybe not really, just kind of for aesthetics, and then some flowers and a nice little butterfly painting, because why not, I guess, a little picture frame, and just like a lot of alt placement and things like that. I haven't gone too ham on clutter yet. Like you will see further on in the video, I kind of do furnishing to the basics. I'm pretty much settled on what I think the corridors are going to look like. I don't think I'll add too much, but in general the clutter will come, so don't worry, it will happen. It will happen in the video. So now I'm putting in some sconces. I think these little kind of, they all look very like posh to me. I don't know what it is, they look fancy. I kind of wanted this building to look fancy because London townhouses are fancy, they're expensive. It depends where you go, but I feel like the ones in Chelsea are super fancy, so I did want to kind of complement that with the furnishings and make it look very regal and formal. So that's kind of what you'll see with a lot of the corridor furniture and interior. One thing I was finding really tricky was finding a rug, because I did go for a fairly patterned flooring, but the marble is white that I use, so it kind of looks a little bit bare. So I was looking around for rugs I could use, but then also if you think about it, like in corridors of apartments and stuff, you don't really have carpets. But then again, this is a really fancy one, so you never know, but I think I ended up just for one little kind of like entrance mat, and that was it. So now I was just finishing off by looking at, oh no, I wasn't finishing off the build at all, I don't know what I'm on about. I was thinking ahead and trying to plan the layout of the apartments, and this is when I realized, hang on a minute, wait, these are 2-story apartments, I don't need to cram everything into one floor. So then I kind of undid, and then I was thinking I need to put some stairs down in the basement, because I at one point completely forgot I even had a basement. So that was handy that I realized that there was one. I feel like I've done that before, like with shell challenges. I'll like not check there's a basement, I'll be like, oh, there's no basement, and then surprise, there's a secret basement. And this one I built myself, so it doesn't even make sense, but it's fine. But that was kind of what I was faffing with. The stairs again, trying to make it look nice and uniform and cute, and yeah, that kind of thing. So I wanted stairs in the apartments too, because obviously you wouldn't want to try or have to get to the second level of your house by going through the main corridor again. So what I ended up doing was deleting the top floor doors. So there's an entrance to each house once. There's only one entrance, if that makes sense. So the first house is the basement and the ground floor on the right, and the doors to get in from the outside is on the ground floor corridor, if that makes sense. So then if you go to the first floor and the second floor are one house, and there's only doors on the first floor. Does that make sense? That is basically how I kind of worked it out, which was good because it gave me the opportunity to make the uppermost corridor, which has no doors into the apartments, a little loungy area, which I think was cool. I didn't want to make it like a proper big lounge area, like a communal space, but just like a small area for people to sit down if they wanted to. There's a little fake balcony there as well. I just got some sofas and an ottoman, and then maybe I thought about putting in a bookshelf, but I decided to go with the mirror and stuff, just so it's not so much like a little recreational room, it's more like a casual lounge area. Again, I went with the light blues and the whites and the really light beiges, because I feel like that is definitely the color palette of the main bit of this build, and I really like it. It's a lot of furniture I wouldn't normally use, because I feel like I don't really build super traditional and old style and kind of formal. I don't know what design aesthetic that's called, honestly, but I feel like from looking at the build you kind of know what I'm on about. But I really enjoy doing it for this. It means that I get to like use a lot of furniture I don't normally in The Sims, which I do always enjoy, trying to like push myself out of my comfort zone, and I think it's ending up working really well for this build. So I'm really liking it. The one thing I was struggling with was paintings, so I wanted something on the wall, and I was trying to find like a nice collection of paintings that would look well together, some that look kind of fancy but also there's still like a pop of colour. I didn't want them all to be like boring landscapes, or like there's paintings that are really nice that would suit this build that are just like drawings of buildings, and I don't know, they're not that exciting. So I try to switch it up a little bit. And then here, just refining the lounge a bit, having that beautiful mirror behind. I really love that jungle adventure mirror, and I think it actually works really well in this corridor. Like I kind of based this area on sitting areas I've seen in hotels in different countries. So you just have some areas in the corridor where there's a little loungy area, and sometimes you have these in receptions of hotels too. So that's kind of what I wanted to go for. So we had some plants, lamps, mirrors, little, I was gonna say bedside tables, like little end tables, that's what they're called, I guess. And then I wanted to kind of continue the same themes across all of the floors. So I had some of the same lamps and like an ottoman here, just to continue to like clutter up some of the corridors so they're not like entirely plain. Basically, I think it worked really well. I think it's looking pretty nice, and I'm quite happy with the amount of clutter on each floor. But it kind of took me a while. I was trying to really focus on not just filling it with stuff and making sure it all looks good and it's all part of this like nice aesthetic and it's all very cohesive. So things like paintings, I actually spent a long time like having a look through, which is always tricky because we are very limited in paintings, I feel, because although there's loads of swatches of different paintings within one painting, the frame often changes color, and I was looking for all white frames, so I was feeling kind of pressured and limited, but I think we found some good ones in the end, which is good. Then I kind of went to finish off this building session by looking at the balconies. I added the stairs too. I think I like these stairs. I kind of wanted those kind of gridded stairs, but at the same time they look like a very different style to the rest of the build. Like the outside looks really fancy, and then there's these kind of like meshy stairs. I don't know if I'll change them, we'll see. But I thought I'd add some really basic furnishing to these bottom balconies, just so in my head I'm like, okay, I know what I'm putting down here, almost like placeholders, but like with a little bit more thought of like, okay, this is what I want to be here. So for the right balcony, I went for like an eating area, barbecue, some planting things. I might vary it more because I think both of the balconies are quite similar, and I want like each house to really reflect a different type of person, which you'll see in future with some of the furnishing of the apartments that we do. Also, I don't know whether to call them apartments or houses. They're like a little bit of a mix of the both, kind of like houses in an apartment style complex almost. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the furnishing of this build, and I'm pretty happy with this building session and what we got done. I think the corridors are looking nicer, and I'm really excited to push through and move into furnishing the actual houses. But if you did like the video, do give it a thumbs up and let me know what other videos you would like to see on this channel. Also, feel free to subscribe to stay tuned for videos every Saturday. And that is pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!